For our project, we decided to focus on 5 main types of elder abuse. Physical abuse, which is the infliction of physical pain or injury. This includes things such as hitting, pushing, and can leave bruises and bed sores. Emotional abuse, or verbal assaults, include threats of abuse, harassment, or intimidation. There's financial abuse, or exploitation, which is the misuse or withholding of your financial resources. Then there's sexual abuse, which is the touching, fondling, or any other sexual activity without one's consent. For our project, we decided to focus specifically on neglect. Neglect is the failure to provide appropriate care. This could include unsafe living conditions, the absence of medical devices, or the lack of routine medical care. In 2008, the Illinois Department on Aging reported that there were 10,583 counts of abuse reported. This was an increase of 10.9% from 2007. This can be viewed as a good thing or a bad thing. On the one hand, there are more counts of abuse being reported. However, we do not know the exact number of abuse that is happening in our state. 43% of the victims were over the age of 80. To give you an idea of the face of elder abuse, it is most often a 79-year-old white female. It's most often females because they live longer than men typically. 79% of the victims were female, while only 30% of the victims were male. And in terms of the abuser, the ratio is 50-50 male to female. The types of abuse reported, 56.4% was financial exploitation. Financial exploitation is the fastest growing in our nation and the most common in Illinois. However, as I'll explain more in detail later, we decided to focus specifically on neglect for our area. 45.8% of reports were of emotional abuse, 39.5% were of neglect, 22.9% was of physical abuse, and 5.4% was of sexual abuse. It is important to note that victims generally experience more than one type of abuse. For example, emotional abuse is greatly tied to other forms of abuse, such as financial exploitation and neglect. In terms of who reports the actual abuse, 27% of abuse is reported by medical personnel and social workers. The family reports 10% of this abuse, while the person that's being abused actually only reports 9% of the time. Self-reports happen most likely in cases of physical, sexual, emotional, and financial exploitation cases. The person being abused is often fearful that if they report anything, more harm will come to them. There are several reasons to target the elderly, one of which is that the elderly control roughly 70% of our nation's wealth. They are also plagued by inabilities. This includes impaired hearing and vision, slowed motor and mental responses, which causes decreased coordination, as well as other physical, mental, and emotional impairments. The National Center on Elder Abuse is part of the United States Administration on Aging. They also release statistics regarding elder abuse. However, they are a little slower than the Illinois Department on Aging because they focus on the nation as a whole. They report specifically on nursing homes and their statistics. In 2006, more than 30% of all nursing homes in America indulged in some form of abuse. It was reported that 50% of all nursing homes were short-staffed. Short staffing at nursing homes causes the workers to become overworked and frustrated, which can lead to neglect of the patients there. Only 20% of nursing home abuse ever gets reported.